The school called at 10:14 a.m. They said my son was in trouble. By 10:40, the police were already there. They asked him one simple question: "Who told you to bring the knife?" He looked at me, not scared, and said, "My real dad." The officer didn't react right away. He just nodded slowly, like he was making sure he'd heard correctly. "Your real dad," he repeated. My wife squeezed my hand hard. "He's adopted," she said quickly. "He doesn't know his biological father." The officer wrote something down. "Son," he said gently, kneeling, "can you tell me who you mean?" My son shrugged. "The man who talks to me at night," he said. "He says you're not really my parents." The room went cold. I laughed, too loud. "He has an imagination," I said. "He's been asking questions lately." The officer looked up at me. "How long has this been happening?" I opened my mouth. My wife answered instead. "He's been having trouble sleeping," she said. "Nightmares." My son shook his head. "I'm not asleep," he said. "I'm in my room." The officer stood up. "Can you tell me what the man told you?" My son looked down at his shoes. "He said if I didn't bring it," he whispered, "someone would get hurt." My heart started racing. "And where did you get the knife?" The officer asked. My son pointed toward the door. "Dad's toolbox," he said. The officer closed his notebook. "Sir," he said, "we're going to need to ask you a few more questions. And we're going to need to look at your house." They searched the house while we sat at the kitchen table. No handcuffs, no shouting. That was somehow worse. My son swung his legs under the chair, calm now, like he'd already said the hardest part. The officer asked about the adoption, when, where, how old he was. 6 months, my wife said. "Closed adoption." The officer nodded. "Has anyone else had access to him?" "Babysitters, relatives." "No," I said. "It's just us." My son frowned. "That's not true," he said. We both turned to him. "The man comes through the hallway," he continued. "He smells like outside." The officer glanced at the back door. "Does he look like someone you know?" My son shook his head. "But he knows my name," he said. "And my other name too." My wife's face drained of color. "What other name?" she asked. He looked confused. "The one before," he said. "The one you don't use." The officer's pen stopped moving. "He told me where I was born," my son added. "He said you changed my story." I felt a chill crawl up my spine. The officer stood. "We need to check your backyard," he said. "And your security cameras." My son leaned closer to me and whispered, "He said you'd be mad if I told." They reviewed the security footage in silence. Hours compressed into minutes. The screen flickered through empty hallways. Closed doors, nothing unusual. Until 2:48 a.m., the motion sensor tripped. The camera in my son's hallway turned on. A shadow crossed the frame. Tall, male. The timestamp showed the back door opening. From the outside, my wife pressed a hand to her mouth. "That's impossible," she whispered. "The alarm it was disarmed," the officer said. With the correct code, my stomach dropped. The officer rewound the footage, paused it. The shadow stopped outside my son's bedroom door. Didn't knock, didn't hesitate, just awaited. My son watched calmly. "That's him," he said. "He tells me stories." The officer turned to him. "What kind of stories?" My son shrugged. "About my first mom," he said. "And why she didn't fight to keep me." My wife let out a sob. The officer straightened. "Sir," he said to me, "has anyone ever contacted you about the adoption?" I shook my head. "No," I said. "Never." The officer's radio crackled. "Backyard shed," a voice said. "We found something. They didn't let us follow." But we heard the officer swear under his breath. A few minutes later, he returned holding a small plastic bag. Inside was a folded piece of paper, a birth certificate. My son's original name was written on it. The name we were never supposed to know. The officer looked at us grimly. "Someone has been inside your home," he said. "And they know exactly who your son is." My son leaned back in his chair. "He said today was the last time," he whispered. The room went still. "Last time for what?" my wife asked. My son looked at the front door. "For waiting." The officer asked my son to repeat that, slowly. "What do you mean, the last time?" My son picked at a scratch on the table. "He said I wouldn't have to listen anymore," he replied. "That today, he was taking me back." My wife let out a sound that didn't feel human. "Taking you where?" she asked. My son shrugged. Home, he said. The officer stepped outside to make a call. When he came back, his tone had changed, sharper. We contacted the adoption agency, he said. There was a request for records 2 weeks ago. I leaned forward. From who? The officer hesitated. Your son's biological father, he said. He was released from prison 6 months ago. The room spun. Violent offenses, the officer continued, stalking. Breaking and entering. My wife started crying openly now. He knows the alarm code, she whispered. He's been watching us, the officer nodded. We believe he's been entering your home at night, he said, talking to your son, and the knife. I asked, the officer's jaw tightened. He wanted a reason, he said, to force police involvement. To prove you were unfit. My son looked up suddenly. He said if I scared people, he said, they'd send me away from you. My chest tightened. The officer's radio crackled again. Vehicle spotted, a voice said. Parked 2 blocks away, the officer stood. Sir, ma'am, he said, we need you to stay inside. My son slipped his hand into mine. He said you'd try to stop him, he whispered. But he said he's faster. The power went out at exactly 9:12 p.m. No warning. No flicker, just darkness. My son squeezed my hand. Hard, he's here, he whispered. The officer moved instantly, drawing his flashlight. Another officer blocked the hallway. Stay where you are, he ordered. The back door slammed, wood cracked, glass shattered. My wife screamed my son's name and pulled him behind her. A voice came from the hallway, low, calm, easy, the man said. I'm just here for my boy. The flashlight beam caught his face for half a second. Older than the photo, thinner, eyes that never stopped moving. He stepped forward. You don't belong to them, he said, looking straight at my son. They lied to you. My son shook violently. You said I could choose, he cried. The man smiled. I am, he said. I'm choosing now. The officer shouted for him to drop to the floor. He didn't. He lunged. Everything happened at once. My wife fell. A shot rang out. The man hit the wall hard and slid down, leaving a dark smear behind him. Silence, my son screamed. I grabbed him and held him so tight, I could feel his heart pounding through his ribs. The man gasped on the floor, blood spreading beneath him. He looked at my son one last time. I tried, he whispered. Then his eyes went empty. Sirens filled the night. The doctor said my son would forget parts of it, that kids often do. I hope they're right. The police said we did everything correctly. That we were lucky. Lucky doesn't feel like the right word. We changed the locks, the codes, the cameras. We moved his bedroom. For weeks, my son slept between us. One night, as I tucked him in, he looked at me carefully. You're my real dad, he said. I swallowed hard. Yes, I replied. I am. He nodded. He said blood mattered more. My son added. I turned off the light. He was wrong, I said. As I closed the door, I noticed something on his nightstand. A drawing. 3 stick figures holding hands. All smiling. At the bottom, in small letters, it read, This is my home. This is NIGHTLINE. Family isn't who claims you. It's who keeps you safe when the door breaks.